You have reached Steele's Untucked Review. I'm your man, Steele, and today I'll be reviewing Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee Origins Autobot. Transformers Legacy Evolution Buzzworthy Bumblebee Origin Autobot Jazz. But before I get to the actual review, just want to go over some of the spectacular details on this packaging. Up front, here's a typical display window showing you both the figure and all the accessories inside. Up top here, you have the Transformers Generation and Takara Tomy logos. In the middle here, you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. Over here, you have the 8+ was the age requirement for this figure. Alongside here says Transformers. In the middle here is this beautiful illustration of Autobot Jazz in his Cybertronian car mode. And below that it says Origin Autobot Jazz. And down here, Buzzworthy Bumblebee. In the corner here you have the Hasbro logo, and next to that it says it's from plastic-free packaging. The other side of the packaging here, you have this beautiful montage of Megatron, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and RC. The other side of this packaging here, you have another beautiful illustration of Autobot Jazz in his robot mode, and down here it says it's from plastic-free packaging. Now the back of the packaging here, you have all the figures featured, such as Autobot Jazz in his robot mode, and Autobot Jazz in his Cybertronian car mode. Then up here it says Origin Autobot Jazz, and below that it shows you the Evo Fusion. Over here you have 20 steps of transformation, and below that again you have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo. And over here you have the Hasbro logo and the Transformers Authentic logo. Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee Legacy Evolution Origin Autobot Jazz. Origin Autobot Jazz was released on March 23rd, 2023 with the suggested retail price of $24.99, and he was available exclusively at Target. Origin Autobot Jazz is a Generation 1 inspired figure that converts into his Cybertronian hovercraft mode in 20 steps. His accessories include his hook accessory, blaster, and instructions. Origin Autobot Jazz stands 5.5 inches tall, and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert Origin Autobot Jazz from his robot mode all the way to his Cybertronian hovercraft mode. But the first thing you always want to do before you transform any of your Transformers, you want to remove all the weapons and accessories. I'm going to go and take his blaster now, unpeg it, put it off to the side. Because the first step of the transformation, they want you to take these fists. Inside the forearm here, they're hollowed out. They want you to go ahead and slide the fist right in the forearm just like that. Then to the other side, take this fist and slide it right into the forearm just like that. Step number 2, you want to turn Jazz around. Put this backpack right here. I'll lift this backpack away from his back just like that. Step number 3, you want to take Jazz's head now. You want to turn it all the way around just like that. Step number 4, you have this chest piece right here. I want to go and untab it and bring it all the way up just like this. Step number 5, you want to go and grab the hook and this reel accessory. Top of this reel is a little porthole right here. Grab that hook, plug it right in just like that. Step number 6, in the middle of Jazz right here, this porthole right there. You want to go and grab that hook and reel accessory, just plug it right into that porthole, just like that. Step number 7, you want to take these forearm pieces, you want to turn them in. There's a swivel joint right at the top of the bicep, so you just turn it in just like that. Do it to the other side to this forearm piece, and turn it in just like that. Step number 8, you want to take these arm pieces, you want to bend them right at the elbow joint, just like that. Do it to the other side, take the arm and slightly bend it right at the elbow, just like that. Step number 9, you got a couple butterfly joints right there and right there. You want to go and turn the shoulder in just like that, and just like that. Now in step number 10, you want to turn Jazz all the way around. Get this backpack piece right here. I'll take this top piece, bring it down just like that. You want to snap it into place just like this, and just like that. For step number 11, right here you'll see a little tab, top of Jazz's hood right here. Inside the backpack, there's a porthole right in there. Want to bring this backpack all the way up, and just tab it right into place, just like that. Step number 12, you got Jazz's feet right there. Want to flip his feet back just like that, and just like that. Step number 13, you got these leg pieces right here. You got this panel right here. There's a hinge joint on the inside of each one of these panels. Want to flip it up just like that. Do that to the other side. This leg panel right here. Want to flip it up just like that. Step number 14. Those leg panels you just flipped up. You got a hinge panel right here. There's a hinge joint up front. Want to flip this panel out just like that. Do that to the other side. This leg panel right here. Want to flip it out just like that. Step number 15. Those leg panels we flipped up earlier, then we're just going to flip them back down, step into place just like that. Do it to the other side, get this leg panel right here, just flip it down, step in place just like that. Step number 16. On the inside Jazz's legs, you got a couple pegs and some portholes. You kind of want to line them up together and push them together just like that. Now for step number 17. With this whole back end, you got this front end, you got the thighs right here. You want to make sure the thighs collapse right into the back end, just like this. And you want these tabs right here, you want to step right into place, just like that. Step number 18. You want to flip Jazz over. On the bottom of the forearms right here, put these slotted portholes right there and right there. Bottom of the leg right here, you got a couple slotted pegs right there and right there. You want to take these forearms and peg them right in place just like that, and just like that. Step number 19, and these door panels right here. I want to kind of snap them right into place, just like that. Do it to the other side to that door panel, snap it into place, just like that. For the 20th and final step of this transformation, I want to go and grab Jazz's blaster. On this blaster here, got a 5mm peg. Top of Jazz's roof, you got a 5mm porthole. I want to take this blaster, plug it right in the roof, just like that. And now you have Jazz in this full Cybertronian hovercraft mode. Now that I have Origin Autobot Jazz in his Cybertronian hovercraft mode and on my display table, I just want to go over some of his play features and accessories. But before I do that, I have to say, Hasbro and Takara Tomy nailed this figure. He is a perfect representation of the Jazz that you see in that first episode of More Than Meets the Eye. And there's very few Transformers that actually transform in their Cybertronian mode. I mean, you had Soundwave, you had the Seekers, and you had Jazz, Wheeljack, and Bumblebee. And you briefly see Jazz in his transformation, as opposed to the opening scene where you see Bumblebee and Wheeljack trying to steal some Energon pylons, I believe, and they were escaping and they were chased by a few of the jets. But you briefly see Jazz when when they're about to take off, and he comes in and in this little Cybertronian hovercraft mode, which I think is more of a car. I wouldn't say he's a hovercraft, but he was hovering. And unfortunately, with this version of Jazz, there's no wheels on the bottom of this vehicle, so you don't really want to roll across any abrasive surfaces, because you do risk damaging the figure on the bottom here, especially on the arms right here. But the arms do act as kind of like a stand, so it does kind of simulate that Jazz is hovering above the ground. Very nicely done. And also, you have some translucent windows right here. You can kind of see into the cockpit. Not much inside to look at though. Just kind of a cool feature. I don't really recall if the blaster was on top of this roof. Not a big fan of arming my Transformers while they're in vehicle mode, but it was on Cybertron and there was a war, so I think he may have had his gun. And I think it's really cool that you can store his grappling hook right on the bottom here too. Really nicely done. I mean, it was really nicely engineered. Out of the 3 Origin figures that were exclusive to Target, I would have to say this is my favorite one. And if I'm going off of memory correctly, I believe Bumblebee was first, Jazz was second, and Wheeljack was third. Wheeljack was really cool because you could store Bumblebee in the back of Wheeljack, but the scale was a little bit off because Bumblebee fit in the back of Jazz very comfortably, instead of like having to fold some pieces of Bumblebee to have him fit in the back of Wheeljack. But the scaling of this figure is nice. And I don't have my Origin Bumblebee or my Origin Wheeljack out to do a side-by-side comparison. But I do have my Studio Series Jazz to do a side-by-side comparison. Because I think it's really cool because now you can see what was before and after. And you got Cybertron, you got Earth. And it's very nice, you know, they're nicely scaled with each other. I kind of wish they went with the same color windows so they kind of like match a little bit better. And some of the colors, the paint scheme for the blue, you know, should match a little bit better. But I mean, this figure is based on the animated model from the Generation cartoon series, and this figure is based more on the animated model from the Transformers the movie. And as you can see, there's like, it's not really based too much on the toy itself, you know, because I think the dark blue, I believe, was with the original Jazz. I'm not too sure. And I wish I had my original Jazz on hand to do a side-by-side comparison. But this is more about the Origin Jazz as opposed to the Studio Series Jazz. But the Studio Series Jazz is a pretty cool figure, you know, and it's very nice. And this is something I always wanted to do when I picked up this version of Jazz. And I knew I was eventually going to review him, but I had to bust out my Studio Series Jazz to do a side-by-side comparison. But let me go ahead and rotate this around so you guys see what it looks like from all angles. It's very cool. It's very cool to see the before and after, and not too many opportunities you get to see Cybertronian Jazz next to Earth Jazz. Now that I have Origin Autobot Jazz in his robot mode and on my display table, I once again want to go over some of his play features and accessories. First by talking about his trademark blaster. And according to the instructions, there's a way to arm Jazz with this blaster while he's in his robot mode. So bottom of this blaster right here, a 5mm peg. Each one of his fists, a 5mm porthole. Take that peg, plug it right into his fist, and now you have Jazz armed with his blaster. Because the next accessory I'm going to talk about is his grappling hook accessory. Now, earlier on I showed you how to assemble this grappling hook. You get this reel part right here. Top of this reel, you got a 5mm porthole. Well, on the bottom of the hook here, you have a 5mm peg. You just plug that right into the reel, and now you have the grappling hook. In order to arm Jazz with this grappling hook accessory, you take his fist, get the hollowed out forearm, swing the fist right into the forearm just like that. And it reveals a porthole at the end of his wrist. You take this grappling hook, because at the bottom of this grappling hook has a 5mm peg. Just plug that right into his wrist, and now you have Jazz armed with the grappling hook accessory. If you guys recall, in the earlier episode of Transformers, you had the pilot episode More Than Meets the Eye. And during that pilot episode, Ironhide gets shot out of the air by Skywarp. He lands in a river. Well, Jazz comes to the rescue, and this appears on his wrist. He goes and he throws the line out, and he reels Ironhide to safety. Pretty cool accessory. Unfortunately, he didn't utilize this accessory while he had a Cybertronian mode. This happened after they crash landed on Earth and they all had their Earth mode, so he was a Porsche by the time this happened. And unfortunately, you cannot arm the Studio Series version of Jazz with this grappling hook, which I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison in a moment here. But I want to show you guys, there's another feature with the weapons and accessories that's called the Evo Fusion. It's kind of a gimmick that was utilized in Legacy Evolution, where you can combine all your weapons to form a super weapon. So I'm going to take his blaster now. Because the end of the blaster here, you get this barrel that actually acts as a peg. I'm going to go and unpeg this grappling hook and bring his fist back out again. Because on the end of the grappling hook, you have that peg, but inside that peg you have a little porthole, which I just dropped. But you go ahead and you just take that peg and you put it right into that porthole just like that. And now you have this super blaster grappling hook accessory. And you arm Jazz the very same way you did with the blaster, just put it right into his fist, just like that. And according to the instructions, there's also a way to store this weapon while Jazz is in his robot mode. You go and take this accessory now, and for some reason, the instructions were very specific, but there's this peg on the side of the blaster. I'm not sure it's for storage purposes, but they don't really show you how to utilize this peg. Instead, you're always using the peg on the bottom here. But according to the instructions, you take his blaster now, turn Jazz around, you have this porthole in his backpack. You just plug his blaster right into there, and now you have his weapon stored while he's in his robot mode. But as you all know, I'm not a big fan of storing weapons while my Transformers are in a robot mode. I'm going to unpeg this, and I'm going to unpeg the grappling hook. Now I'm going to arm Jazz with his normal blaster, because I want to go and do a side-by-side comparison, because I feel that this version of Jazz is really nicely done. And Takara Tomy, Hasbro, whatever you want to call them, had a feat in engineering Jazz's robot mode into the Cybertronian mode, which they pulled off perfectly. The only one thing that I have to say that I see is kind of a negative in this figure is the paint scheme, because the paint scheme does not match the animated model from the cartoon series nor the movie. This version of Jazz does. It's based more on the animated model from the movie. And his proportions nice because, as we all recall, a lot of the Season 1 Transformers were very bulky, and that really translated well in the toy form when it came to Studio Series Jazz. And I know they had the work cut out, and they made this chest a little bit small for the Cybertronian version of Jazz, but I mean, they still pulled it off. I mean, it wasn't a shell former like Origin Wheeljack was, where his backpack folded around him to form the mode. A lot of the body parts were utilized during the transformation. It was very nicely done. And almost the transformations for both figures were almost identical. And I know Studio Series Jazz's transformations very close to the Generation 1 toy. So I mean, a lot of the engineering was kind of like evolved, and I mean, over time engineering gets better and you're able to put in more points of articulation, which I mean, the newer generations of Transformers do have a lot of points of articulation. The robot modes look more like they do in the animated series, because what Hasbro Takara Tomy did, or what I feel they did, was they took the robot modes and engineered the up modes, which, I mean, they did such a great job. But with this version of Jazz, I'm going to put the Studio Series off to the side. With this version of Jazz, they did a great job with that. And I know there aren't too many more options left for Cybertronian versions. I know in Siege they did do the jets. Soundwave, they gave you a kind of a almost Cybertronian version that wasn't exactly perfect, but you could transform them into whatever you want to call it, lamppost or streetlight. But that's what Soundwave transformed into in that pilot episode of More Than Meets the Eye, and they did incorporate that into the Siege transformation, but they gave him a weird ship mode too. But I'm hoping that eventually they'll do a perfect Cybertronian version, possibly Origins, because Target loves to produce the Cybertronian versions of each Transformers that were featured in More Than Meets the Eye. And you know what? I don't think a lot of you fans know, Optimus Prime actually had a Cybertronian mode, but that was more in the comic book. So it'll be very interesting if they do produce a comic version of Optimus Prime Cybertronian mode from the Marvel Comics series back in the day. But if you guys found any information in this review valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you really enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel, and while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Rad Steele's Awesome Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.